Somewhere on this earth there is a place which keeps the monsters contained. It's like an SCP foundation, but in real life. And somehow, it's even more disturbing. Its existence is barely lawful, balancing on a fine line between the law and societal security, and is of course a subject of controversial debate. Let me tell you the disturbing story of a place where true evil stays locked and under the watchful eye of the guards. A place created thanks to a law signed overnight, due to the overwhelming pressure from the scared society. A place which, for the sake of many, crushes the personal freedoms of the few. The Vampire Institute of Gostynin, Poland. So sit back, relax, and let's have a cup of absurdity. Just to set the record straight, we're of course not talking about like real-life vampires or monsters here. So where did the name Vampire Institute come from? Well, you see, with the rise of mass media, the information about gruesome acts were able to reach many more consumers. The thing is, and I think it was the case all over the world, that when the incredibly prolific term serial killer was not yet coined, it caused many nations to come up with their own words to describe those evil people. In Poland, the term used by almost everyone, the people, the media, and even law enforcement, was a vampire. Over the years, many criminals were given this moniker, which was basically reserved for serial heavy offenders like rapists, murderers, and those who dabbled in both of these offenses. During the communist times, the way to deal with such people was quite easy and involved a beam and a few feet of hempen rope. However, as we all know, the Berlin Wall fell and the time for the Western model of justice came to Poland, which, unsurprisingly, was the most advantageous for the criminals themselves. The changes in the law were so sudden and drastic that the lawmakers got a little bit confused and forgot that some people were sentenced to death penalty for a reason. But the lawmakers were hell-bent on getting rid of the capital punishment, and so they did. The guys who previously were destined to make a rather lively step dance in the air had their sentences changed to 25 years in prison. Why not life in prison? Because it didn't exist in the Polish code of law at the time. It was 25 years and then the death penalty. So after the change was made and the sentence was downgraded for hundreds of offenders, the lawmakers realized they made an oopsie and quickly introduced life behind bars as the harshest possible punishment. They soon found, however, that the sentences of those monsters, which have been downgraded, cannot be changed again from 25 to life, at least not lawfully. But the lawmakers got together, patted themselves on the back, told themselves that they can do it, and promptly forgot about the whole affair. Why? Well, because of democracy. Chances are that the decision makers now will not be the ones in charge when those beasts and vampires will begin to mark their release dates in their calendars. So there's no need to worry about it, at least for them. Well, at least they were pragmatic about it, and so they of course told nobody that it was something to keep an eye on. So the government administration goes by, the next one goes by, then another one, and then the next one wakes up to find that their hand was in warm water all this time and now their pants are wet. Namely, Mariusz Trynkiewicz, one of the worst offenders, a teacher who had killed 4 boys, was about to walk free. A quick reminder for you guys to please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. It really helps me out and I appreciate it greatly. Thanks. The offender I'm talking about is the one who started the story of the Vampire Institute. The law which allowed for its creation and functioning was even named after him, Lex Trynkiewicz. This guy was a teacher who, when dumped by his prospective girlfriend, turned to seeking attention from his underage students, and exclusively boys. His manipulation skills were so advanced that the parents of the kids would happily let the boys stay with him for days on end, while they were on vacation. One boy was especially well acquainted with Mariusz, and only after a few months of a close relation, his parents got sus and forbade the boy from visiting him. Fortunately, that boy was not harmed in any way, but he was very lucky, unlike other boys. While Mariusz was free, he kidnapped and molested young boys at least 3 times, fortunately getting caught, but receiving laughably short sentences of 1 year suspended and 2.5 years in prison. After getting out of prison, he was extremely motivated. He moved into his late grandmother's flat and began luring young boys there. He promised to get them into a shooting club, and when they came to his flat, he taught them the basics of shooting and aiming with an airgun. He had only 2 rules. 1. The boys can't tell their parents about those training sessions, and rule number 2. No clothes during training. Except underwear, of course. The kids usually ran away after the things got past the point of weirdness. Anyway, this went on for a while, with Mariusz getting more and more frustrated until the fateful summer day at a local lake. While there, he lured a young boy into his place and strangled him. He then stuffed the body into a cardboard box and hid him in a forest. 3 weeks after that, he went prowling the same lake again. This time he picked up 3 young boys, lured them into his house as well, but at first it was innocent. They played video games, watched aquarium fish and parrots. And when the boys stated that they had to go back home, Mariusz took a knife and stabbed them to death. His strikes so hard and sudden that the knife got bent. Later Mariusz stated that he didn't want the boys to tell anyone where they were that day, which may have led the police to him and connect him to the murder of the previous boy. He went on with his life like normal for the next few days. Later his parent claimed that he never gave any sign that he committed these horrific deeds mere hours before. A few weeks later, Mariusz decided to burn the bodies of the boys in the forest. Next morning, after that, the remnants of the fire were noticed by foragers, but ultimately ignored. Only the day after that, the partially decomposed, partially burned bodies were found by a mushroom picker and the police were informed. Thankfully, even if not quickly, someone pointed out that Mariusz lives nearby and he has been incarcerated for crimes against children in the past. Thanks to that, he was arrested about a month after his shocking crime. For each murder he committed, he was sentenced to death. Of course, as I said before, 2 years after those events, the law changed and the death penalty was overturned. That's when the noose got turned into just 25 years in prison. So I told you this story so that you can understand the caliber of depraved monsters whom the Institute was intended to isolate. And before I forget, let me know if you'd like me to make a series on Polish serial killers. I promise that their chilling stories are no less captivating and serve as a warning no weaker than the stories of Ted Bundy, Ed Kemper or John Wayne Gacy. I would be happy to present those stories to you, so let me know in the comments. The mechanism of the change of the severity of punishment was like this. The communist government fell, the democratic one was in, we take out the death penalty and give amnesty to everyone who was sentenced by a communist judge. That is, well, everyone. Many thieves, swindlers, gangsters and political dissidents had their sentences terminated or shortened thanks to that, but unfortunately so did killers, and Trynkiewicz was one of them. And since the law said no takebacks, so no giving life in prison now to the people with shortened sentences, the system could only shrug and hope nobody made a fuss about it. So this piece of shit is about to walk free, but society has something to say about it. And the society did make a fuss. The people took to the streets and openly demanded to keep this evil man isolated. The government at first denied, saying that a person after finishing their sentence is free. But the parents and activists are not concerned about the violations of human rights, they want safety. And under their constant, relentless pressure, the government finally bends to their demands and creates the National Center for the Prevention of this Social Behavior, which is the full name for the Vampire Institute. The legislation allowing for this to be implemented was passed in great haste, composed and voted on nearly overnight. This led to an incredible amount of mistakes and unconstitutional inclusions within the bill, leading to the current monstrosity which contains the monsters. In November of 2013, the establishment began its operation. Based in a small city of Gostynin, about 60 miles from the capital city of Warsaw, in a small building of the old psychiatric hospital in the middle of the forest. The institute is at first prepared to take in up to 16 patients. Yes, patients. The people being put there are not prisoners, at least not anymore, and not in the name. If at the end of the sentence of an inmate in the Polish penitentiary system they are ruled to be incapable of rejoining society, instead of walking free, they are forcibly put into this establishment. Obvious ethical concerns aside for now, the creators grossly underestimated the amount of inmates that would be forced to be put in a place like that. From the initial 16, the space to house the patients was expanded to house 60 of them. Regardless of that, there are currently 90 patients staying there. Overcrowded and uncomfortable, this place is guarded by over 300 fully armed guards around the clock. In shifts, of course. The lives of the people enrolled into the program are not really enviable. They wake up, go to sleep, eat and walk on a strict schedule. They are only allowed 1.5 hours of outside walks every day in a courtyard with 5-meter tall walls surrounding them on all sides with guards watching their every move. Mind you, they are technically free people, not inmates. Their food is rather meager unless they get food from the outside, as they are allowed to receive such support, but they are denied most entertainment options. Besides that, the only thing they are rather freely allowed are visits. Though as expected, not many can use the privilege, on account that they don't have many people who would like to see them. Due to the overcrowding, they sleep in bunk beds, 6 to 8 people in one room, without air conditioning, even though in the beginning the institute was supposed to have a separate room for each inmate, patient. Plus, the only company there are other monsters and psychos, so it's a great place to get your shit together. So yeah, not a kind of life that lawfully free people should be forced to live. The most obvious controversy around the Vampire Institute is that it limits personal freedoms and violates human rights. After all, it is an extrajudicial prolonging of forceful social isolation, even if it's supported by the court. The Institute is a unique phenomenon in the scope of the entire world, really. Because in theory, the Institute is supposed to house and resocialize people who, after serving their time in prison, are still deemed unfit to rejoin the society. But in fact, it's just another prison where people are being put without being sentenced. Granted, they are monsters who did unspeakable things, but still. It is being nicely called post-penal detention. That means isolation of persons deemed to pose a threat to society due to mental disorders of such a nature or intensity that there is at least a very high probability that the person affected by them will commit a serious crime punishable by at least 10 years of imprisonment. In such a case, deprivation of liberty is carried out after the person has served the prison sentence for previously committed crimes. So yeah, doesn't sound good, does it? Practically speaking, in the institute, people who are technically free are being subjected to uncomfortable living conditions and prison-like rigor without any lawful justification. While the therapy is optional and only 25% of inhabitants actually take part in it. Not to mention the abysmal resocialization rates of the institute, as to this day only 3 people ever left the premises and walked free. Yes, the post-penal detention is indefinite in its duration, only influenced by the expert's opinion and the public's opinion. I get that the people housed there did really bad things, but does it justify suspending people in a limbo between free and incarcerated after they had served their time? And doesn't it mean that their human rights are being willfully ignored? That's the main controversy, which is a source of constant headache for the lawmakers. What should they do? Disband the institute and face the ire of their voters? Or keep breaking the constitutional law? The eternal conundrum for the politicians. But whatever our opinion is, it looks like the Vampire Institute is not there to stay. The entire operation was set up in order to house the mistakes of the transition period of Polish government, given that currently there are other methods of dealing with the people intended for post-penal detention, or rather those the post-penal detention was intended for. The Institute is set to cease operations by 2040. And so we have arrived at the end of this video. I want to give a huge thank you to every one of you still watching. I'm still pretty new when it comes to content creation and every bit of support from you means a world to me. So please like the video, subscribe to the channel, I promise to never dabble in slop content. Also leave a comment, I'm curious what you think about this case, and also if you would like me to do a series on Polish serial killers. But for now, stay safe and absurd, and see you in the next video.